What's good, my man of society? It is your host with the most, Shadow Loke, back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Now, I got asked by one of my subscribers, the homie Thomas, if I could make a video about this subject, right? He is not a gang member, so he's not from the streets. And he is uh, intrigued and, fascinated with some of these channels, right? The prison genre, the street genre, the taboo genre. He said it catches his interest, right? So he's tapped into a lot of channels, right? And he does hear the back and forth and stuff like that. But since he's not from the streets, he doesn't pick sides and he doesn't do all of that, right? But he does wonder, and he asks, if I could make a video. He said that because he likes that my unbiased and that I'll actually come and tell you how it is, right? So if I could discuss on why is it that some people or some channels, right, get heat when it comes to other channels or subscribers themselves, right? But then you have other channels that don't. Like, for example, he did mention examples. He said Mundo, right? I guess he was an ex-member of an organization who left that life behind, and Rene Enrique, the boxer, right? And he said, how come like individuals like that don't catch as much heat as, like, let's say, people like Dubs and Gunner, right? Is the examples that he gave. And to that I'll say this, right, from my perspective, at least from my personal opinion, is that the difference with I guess why individuals have a problem, right? At least from what I have at least gathered, right, and from my personal opinion, right, in my view, is that, well, Enrique and Gaimundo, when they first came onto the YouTube scene, they said, that they once were members of this, but that then they became informants, right? They testified against their fellow ex carnales, right? So they're individuals that admitted that they, have fell out, have became informants, and worked with the government to put these individuals away. So what you see is what you get. From the bat, these individuals are telling you that what their career was, what they did, and how their career ended, and you pretty much, there's no hidden agenda, there's no secrets, they're telling you what it is. They used to be a part of that life, and then they cooperated with the government and and worked to bring this organization down. So they're telling you pretty much how it is and what they've done, and they're not threatening people's lives. They're not coming on here and acting like they tough. They're not coming on here acting like they gangster. They're not coming on here and saying that, hey, meet up with me, we'll run the fade. They're not saying that they out there and putting in work. And as a matter of fact, they don't even argue with the if they do get critiqued, they're not out here saying that, man, bro, you would never walk in my shoes. I was really with the business. I was really doing stuff. They are aware that they have left that life behind. They've grown out of it. They no longer care for that life. They're just talking about their personal experiences, what they've been through, and and yada yada, right? Me personally, I don't watch their content, right? I did scope out the guy Mundo's channel from the beginning, right? Never Enriquez, because I already know, right? And with no disrespect, but it's just our views don't line up, so their content just doesn't pique my curiosity, right? It's bad enough I don't even follow the prison genre as it is until my subscribers send me clips and and ask me questions, right? But other than that, I really don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, right? But at least from what I have gathered, these individuals are at least straightforward, no hidden agendas. They're not trying to hide nothing and none of that, right? While these other individuals claim that they left that life behind, that they're grown up adults, that they're family men already, that they no longer care for that stuff and stuff like that, right? But they still defend their careers, right? They still argue with individuals like, nah, man, I was really putting in work. Like, we really with the business. Hey, what's up? Let's meet up. You want to run the fade? Let's get. So they're still trying to act gangster, portray like they're gangsters. And I think the one that affects people the most, or the why most people are bothered, is that these individuals are no good, right? They're individuals that are not welcome in their neighborhoods, who have snitched. So just like these individuals have snitched, so did these individuals. But except that these individuals will never talk about it. They never speak about it. They never talk about it. They never dive into it. They never, they never even acknowledge that part of their, they talk about how they put in work, how they done this and how they done that, but they never speak about how, their time as an individual who rolled it up, who's no good, who who hanged it up, who pretty much is just, why, like, he's no longer in the game, right? It's no good, right? He fell off. He like it's they try to keep it like hidden, like if like these individuals have no problem speaking about, their fallout and why it happened and how it happened. These individuals, avoid avoid the conversations, and it's like, well, if you're somebody who proclaims to be trying to teach people better, or trying to teach kids to not join this life, or trying to paint yourself as this role model figure, or an individual that's looking to better the youth and clean up the streets, how are you gonna look to get that message across when you yourself refuse to acknowledge that you fell off, refuse to speak about why you gave the life up, and how you're no good, and how you don't even care for that stuff no more, because in all true reality that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't mean shit. You'll never accomplish nothing if you chase this life. But by them holding on to this, right, and refusing to dive and speak on it and stuff like that, then they still care for that reputation. They still care to be seen as, somebody who was about the business and stuff like that, right? So they still care to be viewed as gangsters, right? When their whole point, or at least from what they say, right, is to, help the youth, right? But how are you helping the youth overcome this obstacle of craving that type of recognition or respect or attention, if you yourself are holding on to it, if you yourself refuse to give it up, or refuse to even accept, that you let it go, right? Then you're showing these individuals that is worth it, that it means that much, right? So their message is not, is they're saying one thing, but their actions are saying a different thing, right? Like, and because that's just how it's being served, right? um because it doesn't matter if you say in the beginning that your agenda is to help them, this and that, or you give a positive message for about a minute, but then you spend about 19 minutes talking about how you were laying fools out, and how you were putting in work, and how you were with the business, and how you were really about that, and this and that, right? Because when it comes to messages, is that wherever you prioritize the most amount of time is what the message is about, right? So if you're giving a positive sentence of, like 15 seconds at the beginning of your video, but then you spend about 19 minutes speaking about negativity, then what was your message about? The negativity, not the positivity, right? Because you spend the majority of the time speaking about the negative, right? So what is going to resonate with people? The negative, right? Right? So wanting to be seen as gangster, so in my personal opinion, it comes off like people are insecure, right? People maybe, deep down inside, they feel like because of the way their career ended, maybe they feel, some type of way about themselves, right? So they're looking to fill that void by getting this respect on the internet by these individuals, right? By them seeing them as these real ones, these tough guys, that they were really about it. Maybe, it helps them fill in that void of how they view themselves, right? For whatever psychological reason that there is, for that you would have to ask those individuals on why that is, right? But people can see this, right? So people are, it comes off like, well, these individuals haven't changed. Well, these individuals haven't really done this. So when they're saying that their message, or their main goal on here is to be positive, or to do this and that, but people can really see that no, it's not. You want validation, you want acceptance, and you want money, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? But like I said, they're not being upfront about it, right? While these other individuals are at least being upfront about it, right? So because there's no hidden agendas, people, harass, some, but don't harass others, right? Because these individuals, when somebody is just straightforward with you, right, and it's just honest from the get go, what can you tell them? What can you harass them about? What can you be mad about? They told you straight up from the beginning. There's no secret, so you weren't lied to, you weren't fooled, you weren't tricked. What you see is what you got, right? And people can respect at least the honesty. And that's overall, at least my personal opinion of why that I believe that is, right? You can disagree with me, you can have your own personal views, it's all fine. I'm just saying that this is my perspective, right? But overall, that's my video. What do you